2023 thus far has been filled with nothing but surprises, high profile releases, and excitement for the most part. There's been more good news than bad. And there's also rumors concerning, Capcom in relation to upcoming video games that's supposed to be coming out, I guess, in the future. Not necessarily this year, but sometime in the future. And the game that I'm talking about that is rumored to appear sometime in 2025 is Resident Evil 9. And Resident Evil 9, I think, is it's something that I honestly thought was going to come a little bit sooner because the latest main entry of the Resident Evil series that we got was Resident Evil Village, which came out back in 2021. And that game actually it did pretty well in terms of sales. It was actually a huge commercial success because at the start of the year, I believe it had reached over 7 million copies in sales, and even though like Resident Evil 7 is not quite as popular as like the first four main entries of the series, a lot of people had nothing but good things to say about it. They loved Mother Miranda as the main villain. They thought that the main character, Ethan Winters, was pretty cool. He probably wasn't on the same level as some of the more iconic names within the Resident Evil series, like Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield or what have you. But at the same time, the story was pretty cool. And basically, there were things about the game that a lot of people really appreciated, such as the boss fights. There's more boss fights in Resident Evil 7 than it was in 8. But the thing is, there were some people who felt that the boss fights in Resident Evil 8 were a little bit easier than that of Resident Evil 7. It does its job in terms of being terrifying and awesome, and at the same time being exciting, horror game in general. Um, I wouldn't say that Resident Evil Village was quite as popular as a Resident Evil 4 remake because I remember when Capcom did their Resident Evil showcase a while back. All people wanted to see was Resident Evil 4 remake. That's all people wanted to see. And it seemed like they didn't really care much about anything else. And the Resident Evil 4 remake has done pretty well for itself in terms of sales too, because I believe it managed to reach at least 5 million copies sold since its release back in March. And the Resident Evil 4 remake is something that, again, people have nothing but good things to say about it. Now, as far as whether or not Resident Evil 5 is going to get remade, I'm not entirely sure about that because I think when the game came out sometime in, I believe it was the late 2000s, um, like it had gotten good reviews, but at the same time, it was criticized for like being racist or something like that. So I don't know if Capcom is willing to flip that coin and try to attempt to remake Resident Evil 5. But honestly, I think possibly skipping that and going straight to 9 would probably be a better decision. But at the same time, if Resident Evil 9 is set to be released in 2025, um, they're probably gonna have to release something to kind of give get people like interested in, like they're gonna need some type of like game or what have you to keep people's attention until Resident Evil 9 came out. And as far as high profile games are concerned, I'm pretty sure that Resident Evil 4, it's going to be a game that people are going to be playing probably up until 2025. We also had Street Fighter 6, which came out this year, so that's another big Capcom game that people are going to spend years enjoying because if there is a Street Fighter 7, it's gonna be a while before we actually see that game released in the future. Um, yeah, I do feel that Resident Evil 9, if this is true, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are just waiting to see a trailer for this game. I don't expect it to appear sometime this year. Um, I expect it to appear next year, like Capcom does one of their showcase or one of their presentations online. I expect it to appear sometime in 2024, and yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not exactly sure whether or not Capcom is done remaking, Resident Evil games from the past because they've already got all the best ones. They got two, they got three, they got four, and I don't know. I mean, maybe they can milk four out a little bit with like DLC and all that stuff, but I do feel that a Resident Evil 9 game is going to look interesting. And hopefully, if the rumors are true concerning a Resident Evil 9 coming out in 2025, hopefully Capcom puts more endings in that game than they did with Resident Evil Village, because I think Resident Evil Village only had like one like main ending. Resident Evil 7 had like two different endings. And having multiple endings to video games adds to its replay value, but at the same time, like the idea that one particular ending is canon and then that's what they go with, it's like I guess it kind of makes sense in that logic, but at the same time, when it comes down to like video games like RPG, action adventure, whatever that has multiple endings, it gives the developers more flexibility with the story. When you have just one ending, um, sometimes like if you back yourself into a corner, it's going to be kind of hard to create a new story that is that flows and just makes sense following the events of the story of a previous game. But I believe Capcom knows exactly what they're doing, and honestly, if the rumors concerning Resident Evil 9 coming out in 2025 are true, I can't wait to hear more about Capcom in relation to what to expect for this upcoming Resident Evil game in the future.